Very welcome along to this week's edition of the Clare Champion Sports Chat podcast. We have got loads to get through. We're going to get straight into it with our assembled panel of expert guests, Rory Hickey and Fergie O'Loughlin. Lads, I suppose everything was on this weekend, be it hurling, camogie, ladies football, soccer, whatever was on, the James League or the Michael League and run out and Quilty, the whole lot. But I suppose, Fergie, we'll start maybe with probably we can call it an upset because Kilkenny are such a dominant force in camogie. Clare probably rebuilding a little bit both on and off the field, and I mean to go down to Nolan Park and come away with a win for the Clare camogie side, first of all, to kick us off this week, what an achievement.
Yeah, it was a fantastic win, to go into Nolan Park. You give yourself maybe a 60-40 chance at home, but to go down into Nolan Park and to beat them, it was a great win, and I was just looking at a bit of the Clare camogie, very, very young side that Ger O'Connell has developed, and you'd be thinking it will take a little bit more time before those kind of results would come his way. But no, in fairness, they battled awful hard, they worked awful hard, and it was a great result. And going forward for them, because we do know how hard they work, and they're kind of underlooked at times, and maybe not sourced as much as other teams should be. And not being soft on them, but they're kind of fighting against the tsunami at times with facilities and everything else. And to go down to Nolan Park and to scrape out a result like that was fantastic. And going forward for that group of players and Journey's management team, they'll really give them a real boost going forward. Tough one again, coming up with Cork, coming on the back of it. So they should be going into that with a little pep in their step. And great result.
And I suppose important build on that now, Rory, because as Fergie mentioned, Cork coming, but we also have Waterford, I think, to play as well. And 2 wins from 2 so far for Clare. So I mean, it's a positive position to be in, and probably within a shout at the knockout stages, which this group could do with more competitive games.
They could, yeah. I had a chat with Ger there in Woodstock Hotel. They had a fundraiser, the bingo fundraiser. Good chat with him. He said things are going well. He's getting a super response from the ladies, and a result like that. Now, I wouldn't have expected a result like that in Nolan Park, but it came for him, and they'll be buoyed now going into this Cork match at the weekend, and it looks good for him, and all they can do is keep going now and keep ploughing on.
Yeah, because at times they've been struggling for form, struggling for results, and I suppose the one thing you wouldn't want is for this to be a one-off. That when you look back on 2019 or 2020, this would be the big day, like time to push on now, particularly with the Scariff contingent to come back in.
Exactly, yeah, and they're fit coming back into. They've had a break. They haven't been going through the winter as much as the rest of them, so they're ready to go. He told me about the backroom team he has, Joe. He's a very, very expansive backroom team put together. Good people in place there. It seems to be a super setup at the minute, and it looks good for Clare camogie. Yeah.
One of those people, Fergie, you'd probably know him quite well, Conor Dolan. I was down around Magpie Country for a few years there as well. Like, to bring in a guy with the experience Conor has, obviously involved with both Galway teams last year. Like, you can't buy that sort of experience.
No, and as you said, Galway had a great run in camogie last year, and to be involved in that setup and to experience that, and you bring that level in back to Clare, it's priceless, really. And if you look at a few of the players that Clare camogie have lost over the last number of years, big players, Chloe Moore, like they're savage players. But he's gone with a very youthful side. That Scariff O'Connell run that they've got will definitely boost that Clare senior camogie setup going in. And look at going forward. I said it last year about the camogie when he developed his management team around him. There was more than the Barcelona setup, but he absolutely picked very diligently what he wanted. And I said it would probably take him a few months, maybe a season, to get the grips with the inter-county camogie setup. And it seems that it has. And now if they can drive forward, if they can get something out of Cork this weekend coming, it'd be fantastic for the group going forward, because we do know in all setups, whether it's the league or championship come around, we do know it's like chalk and cheese, but you can't beat winning, you can't beat momentum. Come back to training on Tuesday night after beating Kilkenny. I'm sure tonight will be very, very good. Wherever the train will be very good, the buzz will be good, and you can't buy that. So going forward, positive, and let's hope to keep getting the support that they deserve.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. We'll touch on that in the second half, because I want to bring up attendances across the board at the weekend. But let's talk about the second part of that Nolan Park doubleheader. And firstly, I guess, encouraging that the camogie was the curtain raiser rather than what we saw in Limerick a couple of weeks ago. So that's a positive. And Fergie as well, a positive coming away from Nolan Park. Clare probably disappointed with a point, but still unbeaten. That's huge.
Yeah, I think going down, and I'm sure within the setup, they wouldn't have been saying out loud that if they came away with a draw in Nolan Park, they'd have tipped it. But, it was a great result, I think, as was the result in Wexford. You're going down Kilkenny missing a few of their Ballyhale strongholds, but still to go down there, to get a result, to get a draw, and maybe very, very unlucky not to win it in the latter stage of the game and that. But we said it from the off, Derek, about this Clare team. Getting started late was a disappointment, a disadvantage to them, and I still think it is. But we said that, the Lohan factor, and we were hoping what he would bring to the gig and what the players would respond to. Everybody's seen him playing. We know the passion, we know the spirit, we know the savagery that he went at the game at, and everybody win their own ball. Up to you, forget about game plans at times, and you had a very good interview with Ken Ralph that we read in the Champion. It was all about maybe getting away from the tactical side of things. It was all about on the day, on the pitch, beating your own man. And we're seeing an awful lot of what we've spoken about. Spirit, heart, determination, beating your own man, go direct, go short, it doesn't matter. You play the game, you beat your own man, and you have to be very, 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 very impressed with still keeping in mind that there's a health warning with National Hurling League and Championship, two different gigs. But for the moment, very, very pleased. There's great spirit in the camp, going to Wexford, going to Kilkenny, and getting a draw there. We knew probably that handle Laois and Carlow, and we're with a great chance now of topping the group and getting to semi-final, beating Dublin. Great place to be, and like we said about the Camogie, you can't beat winning, irrelevant of what the stakes are at. You go into training the following week, it becomes a lot easier. You build up a buzz, and the way the league is ran, it's going to flow. So great place for Lohan and the boys. I'm delighted they got off to start, because they did get a bad start. No matter what way we look at it, they did get a bad start to their campaign and being so late starting. But I think they're plodding away nicely. They're building up a team that's getting there. Pat O'Connor, centre back, was outstanding. And when you look at it, Derek, we were just talking about it on Monday evening. When you look at the centre backs of this world today, there isn't too many of them exposed, as if we go back maybe 7 to 10 years ago, where a centre back had to be absolutely dynamic, going left and right, coming across the field, be able to cover behind him, in front of him. There's a lot of cover in front of centre backs now. And what O'Connor brings to the gig is that massive experience, but he's used to the ball. He reminds me of a little of Jack Brown when he gets the ball. He's used to the ball from that area, is very, very good, which could be a big factor going forward. And I'm sure food for thought for Lohan and management team going forward. He could be the key in that area that we haven't found that spot for a while. So a lot of positives out of it, apart from the result. Still finding a few areas where he's getting men into those positions, and they're showing up well there.
And that's a major positive, or I think a lot of people agree with that Brian probably has a lot of thinking to do now about his starting 15, and probably his match day 24 or 6 as well. And he hasn't been afraid to throw guys in either. Like Colin Gilfoyle gets put in for the start to Nolan Park, and like Donald McMahon has been given his chance. Ryan Taylor in the corner, like Ryan would have been on and off around that middle third for a lot of times as well. So it's probably a double-edged sword, isn't it? That you've been off on a good start, but you've also tested fellas out.
Well, it is, and a lot of lads have put their hands up. Stephen O'Halloran there, wing back, Liam Curry, a corner back. These guys maybe had a chance before with other managers, but didn't stake a claim. They've had their chance now, and their hands are up and staying up, and they're being selected for the week and the following weeks after. As you said, Ryan Taylor on and off. It was great to see him scoring at the weekend. Like, the big thing that stands out for me with this Clare team is there's one or two more forwards, bar Shane O'Donnell, in the full forward line now. And as Fergie said there, you see Liam Curry bombing balls, and you see Pat O'Connor bombing balls, and they're winning their own ball. And it seems it's a different style now, a few more committed to the forward line, but it seems to work for Clare. There's lads putting their hands up and keeping their places. His match day 24 or 26 or whatever it is will be very interesting coming the summer,
that's just thinking, can you imagine if I don't know what the story injury-wise with Colin Galvin is, and if Peter Duggan was on the scene. They're two massive players with the way the team is developing. And we do know, not for the sake of repeating it, it's National Hurling League come Championship, top of the ground, ball moving at 100 miles an hour, different pace, different speed, different teams. The other counties that we're seeing, maybe lesser of their, Kilkenny for example, will come with a full pack. But you can imagine throw them two boys into it, the dynamics of the team becomes excellent then. It's a pity. I don't know, Colm Galvin, is he out for the year? Is he in? Is he injured, or what the story is? But he's another major throw-in if he's involved in it. But the help if Peter Duggan got a plane back from Australia in June.
Text message. One other thing, and all the negative talk that was going around about the Clare team, like we were sitting here and it's all positive. New fellas playing new positions, different lads playing, David McInerney playing centre field, and it's positive hurling talk. And it's great to meet people on the streets. It's great to have positive hurling talk about the Clare team at the minute. And, you know, a new manager brings that in a bit of bounce. And quick text message to Peter Duggan. What do you think, Fergie?
Yeah, geez, to be great.
To be unreal, yeah.
To be massive. And I'm sure he's watching every...
He loves these podcasts.
Yeah. I'm sure he's watching every...
Peter, how's things?
I'm sure he's watching every step and every ball that's been poked even at train, and I'm sure he's texting the lads afterwards. I know he'll be so engrossed in that. But look at they're developing the team without him at the moment. It would be massive if he came back into the scene again. But no, as Rory said, it's great to have a good story after the weekend.
Yeah,
do you know, isn't it? Because we do hear so many bad stories, and we like to engage in them ourselves a little bit, and rightly so. But it's great that we came out of Kilkenny with results on Sundays. Going forward, something good for Clare.
I hate to drive down the positive energy, but we have to talk football before we take a break for the first half. Disappointing loss again, Rory, for the lads. Disappointing manner of a loss again. Like, it seems to be, you know, everybody in Cusack Park on Sunday kind of exhaled at the full-time whistle. It was just depending on the tone of it as to whether you were from Laois or Clare. Like, and I thought they looked so downbeat after the game, and you'd expect that after an inter-county loss, but it's going to be a massive challenge now to pick things up, isn't it? You
know, when you target games at the start of the year, I'm sure Colm and the lads would have targeted that game for a home win. You know, you'd be thinking you'd be able to get over Laois at home, but like, it happened again. They ended up 6 points behind at half time, and whatever about hurling in football, that's hard to tag back on a bad day over in Cusack Park. And it proved again, like, they got, in fairness to them, penalty back, Tubbs tucked it away, but like 2 frees near the end, long distance frees, if one of them had gone over, we'd be talking about a draw. But at the end of the day, Liam Devaney blew his final whistle, and we lost by a point. So now there's 3 left. Is it 3? I think it's 3 left.
Yeah, we've Cavan from
Cavan are flying it, aren't they?
Cavan are flying.
Top of the league, and we've scored to Cavan. Go to Cavan. So it's
Fermanagh here.
And Armagh here as well.
And Armagh here. So, like, tough games against 3 northern teams left, and looking to get, I think, is it 4 points we need?
Yeah, well, I suppose depending on other results, we could go ahead on score difference or the head-to-head. Like, if we beat Fermanagh, you're a half point ahead of them on that head-to-head, so maybe.
But, Derek, this team seem to perform better when their backs are to the wall.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
They really do. So hopefully now they circle the wagons, get themselves together, but they really need something out of Cavan the next step.
We do, yeah. We can read more. We'll move on because I know we're caught for time. We can read more about that in the paper on Thursday. We have an interview with Micheál McDermott where he goes into the details of that. Rory, we kept good company in Dunbeg on Sunday afternoon.
We kept warm anyway.
Well,
Derek.
until you came out. We had half time. It was cold enough. But Clare meets. We talk positivity. Those last 15 minutes, 8 points down going into the final quarter. Amy Sexton and Roisin Constantine pop up with 2 absolute belters of goals, and Clare pull a draw out of what looked unlikely when the clock hit 45 minutes.
It really did, yeah. Like 8 points behind, everyone looking at the watch going, oh no, the 4th defeat in the trot. But then all of a sudden, as you said, another goal into the same top corner, and up stepped the young Grania Nolan, and 2 frees, 2 in a row. One to come back within a point, and another one off her unfavoured, we'll say, to the right hand side of the post for a right-legged kicker. I know I spoke to James afterwards. He was looking for one of the left-legged ladies to come up and kick it. Over came Grania, picked up the ball, kept her cool. At 24 years of age, she's a lot of football, kick for Clare, and slotted it over. I met her after, she was delighted with it, and in fairness, they were delighted to get the point on the board for the Clare.
Because they're putting in massive effort. We talk of backroom teams, but like the backroom team James has assembled is serious. Like Jarkeen is there. He's got Evan Talty. I'm not just saying this from a Kilmurray perspective, but the likes of Evan and Mark McMahon bring huge footballing experience. Ger is one of the football greats in this county, and you know they've really, really worked hard. They've got a massive stats team working on them as well. So like they're hopefully going to get out of what they're putting in.
Exactly. Like, and you can't buy experience like that. They're top footballing men, all of those guys, and they're putting their shoulder to the wheel for the Clare ladies, but they're getting the response from the ladies. Now, one negative out of the weekend, the hurlers, the Camogiers were playing down in Kilkenny, and Siofra O'Connell had to make the decision, and she went to play football. She had a fantastic game, now, to be honest with her, but all positive for the ladies footballers, and hopefully going forward now they can get a win the next day. They have Cavan again the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. That comes in a couple of weeks' time. Press pause on that there. Rory brings up a talking point. We're going into a lot more of them after the break, so do stay tuned. Welcome back to the second half of this week's Champion Sports Chat podcast. We spoke about the games that were on last weekend just before the break. And it's time now, I suppose, let's maybe talk a little bit about some of the talking points that have come from them. And also we've got Congress this weekend and a lot to go through on that as well. Just one thing that struck me, Rory, and I just threw it out there on social media over the weekend, and it seemed to gain a bit of traction, that I suppose across the board, across the codes, we had an All-Ireland quarter-final for a Clare soccer team in Doura on Saturday evening, lost 2-0 to Wexford. There wasn't 100 people at it. There was a very paltry attendance in Doonbeg for that ladies' football game. 893 in the park for Clare versus Laois. Like, I know that, okay, weather's bad and all the rest of it, but I suppose it's particularly disappointing if you just take the ladies for a second, that, I mean, coverage in the media has never been as strong. Awareness of games has never been as strong. There's all these promotional campaigns going on. But if they want to take it to the next level, you have to imagine that getting that baseline support is number one, isn't it?
Yeah, very disappointed for the ladies back there Sunday morning. Like, there was plenty of room in the car park, you know, and I was sitting with you were with the champion. I was doing a little bit for the radio and tweeting from it and stuff, and I was sitting around. There seemed to be more down from Meath, and the shouting and roaring every time Meath got a score was much more than the Clare support. And I spoke with the manager after, and I put it to him that would they like to play their games in the park, you know, before the lads' matches, but he seemed to take Doonbeg as a fortress, you know, and if it is, well and good, like, but I mean, that's very, very central in West Clare, and you had a lot of ladies from West Clare back there. I thought more people could be turning up to watch the game, you know.
I can understand the Doonbeg thing, to be honest, because, I mean, at a very base level, it's ladies and men's sports, so logistically with dressing rooms and stuff like that, it can be difficult sometimes to manage. And James has always said they like Doonbeg. It's their own venue for the day. They have control over it.
They're happy enough to play in Doonbeg, which is fine.
So that's perfect. So, but like, if Fergie does it not beg a question, like, I mean, even go back to Camogie, was it 2 years ago? Clare played Cork out in Fadamac Park in a Munster Championship game. Now this is the All-Ireland champions at the time coming down. Aisling Thompson, all these players were playing, and again, very poor attendance for what is the top team in your sport coming into your backyard.
Yeah, I've said it about, especially going back to West Clare for football, it's the venue for me. You know, you would think that Doonbeg, and James Murray has stated, like, he likes it. It's a home ground. It's a place where they feel comfortable in. And you obviously think that there should be a big crowd come back there to support the ladies. And again, it goes back, and it's never, as you just mentioned, Derek, it's never been as prominent in the champion and on the radio, and the promotion of ladies, both hurling and camogie, is very, very high at the moment. I know Jackie Calley, even at national level, with the ladies, doing a great job. And it's a pity they're not supported better, because it does, and I can tell you, it can be the 16th girl on the field for you when push comes to shove, and that extra atmosphere it gives, and the uncomfortable zone it gives to the opposing team travelling when there's a big home crowd can be a little bit intimidating, especially back in Doonbeg. And awful disappointing to see that they're not getting the following and getting support, and that's something that I suppose within the county and within their county boards, they need maybe to zone in a little bit and see, can they really start to promote it a little bit more.
The worst for me was I was interviewing the Clare captain afterwards, and we were leaning against the wire chatting away early there, the girl from Doonbeg, and
Kilmahil, get that right.
Oh God,
West Clare is tribal, Rory.
Could get shot for that. My apologies, Kilmahil, you're dead right, yeah. And as the players were coming off, the supporters from Meath had come down to the wire and cheered off their team, you know, and a fine performance of both. And you could see the Clare ladies looking around, and there was this sparse 10, 12 people standing there, you know. It's just a pity, like, you know.
Yeah, just moving on that conversation then, Fergie, to the park, 893 for a National Football League game, Clare and Laois, a crucial one as it was, like, but is cost a factor? Like, are the GAA gone overboard in Alliance League tickets?
100%. We were just talking about it, and €20 to get into the National Hurling or Football League game is scandalous. It's absolutely scandalous. There's no way a national football or hurling league game should be €20. I said the price €10. I think you probably triple that crowd. Year state maybe 15 wouldn't be too bad. But you know, people are voting on their feet by not going to these games. €20 is absolutely ridiculous to go into National Hurling League game.
I mean, Fergie, if you have a choice, if the game has been broadcast on TG Car or still and the boys are sitting and they're commentating away above, like, and you know, 20 quid is a lot of money to into a National League game if you can sit at home and watch it on the telly. But if it's a 10 or 15 euros, you're going, come on and bring the kids with you, and you'll go over and support your county. Because come the summer, you don't mind paying that 20, 25 euros for a championship match. You just, you know, they're the big Clare days out, like, but not for National League. I think it's...
Aren't these the things that year in, year out, that we as analysts and pundits have a real good go at year in, year out. And we'll come back here again next year, and you'll probably state the numbers again to us, and they do nothing about it. It's crying out for change. It's crying out for somebody to say, hold on a minute, €10 across the board on National Hurling and Football League games. And I think people will appreciate that, and they'll show people a little bit of respect in going to support their teams, support the GAA, support the grounds that's probably going to get a few pounds back off it and the team, but not when they're trying to absolutely rob people. It's crazy stuff, and I just hope again on several issues we said that somebody grasps it by the neck and says, hold on a minute, it's time to stop this. It's time now to give the supporters a real chance, because as Rory says, come championship, we'll want to be travelling to Thurles, Páirc Uí Chaoimh
with a full car,
full carload with kids, and it's a great day out, and there's a bit of cost involved, but let's not break the supporters up
that's
beforehand.
That's what we do, like, as Clare supporters. We're great to go to games and whatever, but God, when they're at home and they're playing leash in the park, 10, 15 euros enough, like.
It is, yeah. And I know in the interest of balance, I know there is the season ticket and all that kind of stuff, but that in itself can be costly. Talking about change, lads, you'd swear we planned this out. Congress at the weekend, and a lot of motions coming up. And I know, Fergie, we touched on one a couple of weeks ago on the black card issue. I presume your stance hasn't changed. No black card for hurling is the cry.
No black card for hurling. Hurling is perfect as it is, and I do realise and I do admit.
Game.
It is. It's the best game in the world.
It is.
Absolutely. Best game in the world, fastest game in the world. There's nothing to compare to it. And we don't need to tamper with that. What we need to do is we need to improve the standard of refereeing. The standard of refereeing is absolutely ridiculous. Again, the weekend, we saw a massive amount of frees, massive amount of bad, poor, inconsistent refereeing. We have a most brilliant game, and this, don't get excited with this now, or don't blow it out, but there's a chance of it being destroyed. There is a chance of it being destroyed by, firstly, incapable lads getting inter-county badges and getting out refereeing our best game, and secondly, by people deciding that they need to change the rules to stop our game being the best game. Now, that needs to stop. Like Johnny Murphy, we saw him, Derek, we did the live streaming below in Nina for the Harty Cup game. To arrive without two linesmen, firstly, would be a red card. Mind a black card, a red card. Never to get a Harty Cup game again in my eyes. But his refereeing on that day was absolutely horrendous, poor. There's several people around us, both from both camps, couldn't understand some of the free situations, couldn't believe what he was blowing for, especially near the end of the game when it was in the balance. And here we go again on Sunday. To think you could give 50 frees, 13 cards in a game of hurling. It's a manly game. You have to engage. Yes, referees have to apply the rules. Yes, referees have to blow for frees. We know that. But by God, come on. The famous word, the common sense application, everything like that has to be approached to the best game.
Let's throw the cross and then it's wearing a Bangkok top that he got while on duty as a referee, if I'm not mistaken.
One of my last foreign trips.
You still knocked the old junket out of it. But
was it all refereeing you did out in Bangkok?
We'll move
Played a
on.
little golf as well.
We'll move on quickly before that goes down a rabbit hole. Where do you stand on all that, Rory?
Where do I stand? Well, I read a bit of Anthony Daly, and obviously I was looking at the bits in social media and stuff at the weekend, and you can't deny it. 50 frees in a hurling match, lads, it's off the Richter scale. Like, we had a county hurling semi-final here in the park. I think there was 7 or 8 frees. Do you know, like, if you're using your advantage rule and it works out for you, your average is 17, 18 frees. That's about it. But 50 frees is a football match, really, isn't it? It's a football match, like.
That's even too much.
It's a football match where lads be knocked over all the time and a bit of needle in it, like, you know.
But you ask Rory, you ask all, and you've closer hand on this, just have to give an up refereeing. You ask all players in both codes, and lesser management teams, but more management teams, you ask them what they would like to see in the game. Like, see the game flowing. Yes, they'll give out about a few, but they like to see consistency on both sides of not Rory Hickey being the attraction of the day, not Rory Hickey being listened to blowing his whistle again. They want to see the game flowing, and that means maybe a little bit of letting the game flow. Maybe when there's a dodgy free here and there, but it's in the balance of who'd you give it for, but maybe next. Let the game flow.
Is it a case that the lad was nervous? Maybe the first couple of minutes didn't go for him, and he got nervous, and he said, "Look, I'm just going to blow this match." because it's.
But
not
if you're
going
experienced at inter-county level, you shouldn't be getting nervous.
But here's the other question now, Rory, and again, close to hand, you'll be on this. Are they being scrutinised by the top table, by assessors? And are they being brought in afterwards and said, there's a sheet, there was 10 frees you didn't blow for last week, there's another 15 that you let away. And are they being absolutely pressurised into a situation where they have to apply and they have to be seen to blow for frees, where nearly the perception of everybody else outside of the assessors and the referees has to let the game flow?
Yeah.
Would that be the case at national level?
Without telling any tales out of school.
Come on, you're gone now, you're not going back.
Well, the tales will always travel, you know. The instruction was to go for the hand pass at the weekend. We saw that Sean Clear down in Cork, and we saw Johnny blowing for the hand pass. Now, whether they were hand pass or whether the ball was thrown, and we all know about the head high challenges, and we saw one being sent off for at the weekend. But after that, there's no real instruction as to if you don't blow the free, you know, you're going to be in trouble or whatever. But they are, you're right, Fergie, as well. They are every inter-county referee, every match he refs is advised. The assessing thing has kind of gone out the window now. It's a dirty word in Croke Park. He's advised, and he will get his email with his advisory report on it. And there is a fear factor that if he doesn't blow the whistle and lets the game go too far, that he will not be reffing.
But like that's something that gets my goat, because I've heard that a couple of times now from people that are connected refereeing wise, saying this weekend the focus was on X rule, right? Well, what about last weekend? And what about the weekend coming?
Yeah.
Like, do they decide to focus on a particular element of a weekend and then decide, okay, right, we did that this weekend, let's move on to hand trips or something next week?
I have the answer for you. It's a bit like the fire brigade, right? Because when the fire is on, they ring the fire brigade and put the fire out, okay? So when things become prevalent, they're letting this go, or someone says in the media a couple of times, the refs are letting all this go, they focus hard on that. And then they forget about other things. And that's the way it is, you know. Consistency,
that's all we're looking for. A couple of motions, lads, that we need to talk about very quickly before we go. That's coming to Congress. And two are kind of connected in a way. We have the actually had to get the wording correct on this one, right? And we get it word for word as it is. It comes from Limerick, and we think we know where it's coming from. But it says that the referee can consult the Hawkeye score detection system and or match official on his own volition or following a request from either of the two competing managers or team captains to clarify if any of the team or officials erred in making a decision in relation to the validity of a score, awarding of a free, sideline wide, basically anything, right? It can be limited to 2 failed requests per game, and where a request is deemed successful, a team retains its right to make another further request, and it has to come from the team captains and before the play resumes. We think this is going back to Limerick last year. They feel they were robbed with a late 65 call. Probably that's the origins of it. Is it feasible, Rory?
I wrote at the top of that sheet earlier on there, and we had a bit of a chat. I put TMO on top of it, and that's what they're edging for. If there was a TMO in operation, like your consultant Hawkeye, that's a machine, that's a computer. You can't consult a computer, but if you consult a human sitting beside the computer, the TMO, and he looks back at the bit of footage, yes, lads, 65 should have been awarded there, and that's what the motion has been aimed at.
Is the Hawkeye operated by an ex-referee?
Dickie Murphy, Nola Donoghue, Willie Barrett? They're sitting there operating Hawkeye along with the two fellas.
I thought that motion came from Thomond Park, being honest. It is all the signs of. And a bit of Wimbledon thrown into it.
That you hold on to their calls.
You have 2 calls.
And you're out. I think it's a road that's coming, lads. It's coming. The technology is set up for it in the major grounds where you have quarterfinals, semi-finals and finals. And if there's a real wrong to be righted, let them write it within the day. But how you go about it, how far back you go, that's all to be teased out. And but it's coming. That
brings us on to a motion from Wexford, which kind of takes the technology out of it, and this one is as applicable in Croke Park as it is in Park Owen back across for a Gary Cup game in the depths of winter. And it's that 2 players would be nominated from each side to approach, and I love the wording on this, right? To approach the referee in a courteous manner to challenge all of those things, basically everything down near the colour of your shorts. But it says that the referee has to then give a clear, concise and polite reply back. And also that a team official can be appointed to approach the referee before halftime or after a game.
Fergie, you were a great man to approach referees in your day.
No, polite and courteous on both sides.
It's been done anyway.
You always were. Polite and courteous.
Depends on what way you took the wording of it. But no, look at it. That's been done anyway. But again, that's rubbish. Look at. again, we're going into the nit and gritty of stuff that referees are confused as it is. They're burdened with so much about the game at the moment. The good ones aren't, but we haven't too many of them, I'm afraid. But why lob more of this absolute bull on top of it? I hope Congress. It reminds me now of your man's motion and the Clare County Council about getting Joe Bradley back. It's just that stupid, that one. In fairness, I just think, look at it again.
Yeah, I don't think that motion has gone anywhere really.
It didn't get defeated, and I think the Clare County badly. But look at it again; it was comical, and I think that's comical too. It's comical too. Look, again, I go back to: do people just write these up, and because I have a job, so I need to be seen to be doing something? If you are, do something that's creative, that's positive.
Sometimes motions are put forward just to make a point, and I think the first one for Limerick is just to make the point.
Yeah.
We were Bligarded last year. Well, if you go through all of last year's championship games, I'm sure there's many counties who back playing Limerick could say, well, that wasn't the free against us, and they got a point out of that. That wasn't the free that they got there. We got fouled there. So look at you get them some days, you don't get them other days. And I'm afraid, I think that should be the nature of it. Once you have a referee going out, Derek and Rory will know this, that's very, very fair. I think all of us accept there's going to be mistakes made, absolutely. But once you're fair and you're consistent on both sides, that's all teams will look for, management teams will look for. Once it's fair and you're doing the same to this side you would do to the other side, and there's nothing else in it, the club doesn't matter. I think everybody accepts that there's going to be mistakes made, and that should be the way the GAA at all levels should be refereed. I think we're going into robotic stuff.
I better move these away from Fergie because he's getting visibly disgusted
agitated.
Even by the sight of it. So we have to part the discussion of this week's Champions Sport Chat podcast. Loads more to come in the paper on Thursday. Of course, a Hearty Cup final preview as well. We'll be looking ahead to that as the weather will hopefully allow it to go ahead this week, and lots more too. Back with another podcast next week. We'll talk to you then.